What is happening, hypesters? Oh, I'm on the wrong screen because I'm not alone today. There he is. Kevin's with me. What's going on, man?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks. How you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. We got exciting stuff to talk about today. It is now time to make money with your games in HypeHype, and we're going to go through everything that there is to know about it at this date and time. I'm gonna go to the notes here. But before we jump into that, how's everybody doing? What's going on in the chat? I saw a lot of activity there already. Nuke, Firefish City, Green Guy. How you guys doing? Nils is here. PT Jones in the house. I hope everybody is having an awesome Thursday and looking forward to the topic of the day. How's your day going, man?
Yeah, my day is all right. It is all right. The sun is out here in the sunny UK today, so all is well. And yeah, just echo what you just said. Great to see everyone in the chat there. Love it when everyone joins in like this. So yeah, we'll be open for questions today. We've got a ram-packed agenda here today, so I think we should just get moving and let's talk a little bit of the monies today.
Indeed. Let's talk about some money. I'm gonna go to the game feed, but at least at the beginning here, actually, let's go to we're gonna go to the top charts and we're gonna find the Rock Tycoon and we're gonna jump in the Rock Tycoon stats because right away we're gonna be talking about some terminology that goes along with the new monetization systems. And so right off the bat, we're going to talk about what is the difference between the HypeX and the Hype Cash. So you can see here we have on Rock Tycoon, it's showing us the earnings. We can see Hype Cash. We can see HypeX, which is the little coin-looking one. And both of these are basically currencies that you can earn in app, or you can also purchase HypeX. So I'm already getting lost.
Yeah,
So,
it's a complicated one, but
uh,
you'll get there.
yeah,
Let's
yeah.
break it down.
I'm gonna go one by one here. So, HypeX is the in-app currency. You can earn this through engagement on your games. You can also buy it from the store, the Apple App Store, the Google Play Store, um, in the through the app, obviously, like you would make a purchase in any mobile game. Um, and then you can use HypeX in the app to buy things in other people's games. There will be more uses for it in the future. But right now, that's kind of the main use that you have for HypeX is to use it for in-app purchases in people's games. So Hype Cash, you can only earn Hype Cash. You'll get it through engagement on your games. You can also get it again through in-app purchases in your games. And then, of course, the difference is the Hype Cash is the currency that you can convert into real money. Um, and if you look, we'll look at Rock Tycoon here. We can look at yesterday's earnings, and it breaks it down for us. How much playtime Rock Tycoon got yesterday, 205 hours. How much engagement points that translates to. In this case, it's 4,855. And then from that, we see that it's 4,855 hype cash, which equates to a little bit less than $50 USD. Um, so those are the two currencies, your HypeX and your Hype Cash. The main things you need to know is that HypeX you can spend in app, Hype Cash you can convert into real money once you
Yeah,
have enough of it.
yeah, that's a good way of putting it. So HypeX is the platform, and Hype Cash is the cash part, really.
Yep. So so those are the two kinds of cash. So how do you get cash? I mean, we've talked about it a little bit already, but you will earn hype cash on. Actually, I'm going to back up at one thing because I didn't have it in the notes here, but I think one other thing that we should define off the top is this hype level. So you can see Rock Tycoon is its level is 16. If we just go to like if we go to my profile and we look, you can see I got a lot of ones there, some fives, some six, some seven. So that's the level of the game. and that comes from your engagement points. So like when we looked at if we go back to this stats page, we can see here the engagement points requirements for the next level and how many engagement points this game currently has. Um, and the level is super important because starting to make money happens at level 10. Before level 10, you cannot have in app purchases in your game, and you only earn HypeX from engagement. But at level 10, you start earning Hype Cash from engagement. You will also unlock the ability to put in app purchases into your game with the HypeX.
Yeah, that's super important to iterate there. And I know I can see there's a load of questions coming in, so I think we just need to make sure everyone's clear on this right now. So Firefish says, so Hype Cash is real money. I'm going to let you explain that again, just to be crystal clear on this. I don't want to mess it up either. So yeah, HypeX is basically the platform currency that you can use and spend within other people's games. And Hype Cash Shogun is
Hype Cash is a currency that you earn through your games through either engagement or in-app purchases, and the Hype Cash can be converted into real money once you earn enough of it. And it's a little bit further down my list of notes here, but it's once you have $200 worth of Hype Cash, then you can request a cash out and you can get that as cash money.
Exactly. All right. So yeah, I think everyone in the chat is on board with this now. So I hope that's all making sense.
There is another. I see another question here from Firefish. Currently, there is no ad platform within HypeHype, so you do not make money from ads. You make money from playtime or from in-app purchases. And actually, like for you guys that are here now in the early access, like you get a pretty good deal. I can pretty much guarantee that as things go on, the deal is not going to be as good as it is right now because this is the first iteration of it. We are in early access, and we want to encourage people to use it to try it out. So it's very favorable to you. And that brings me into the next point, which is the in-app purchases. Again, once your hype or your game reaches level 10, you unlock the ability to add in-app purchases into it. And the money that you make from in-app purchases, you will make 100% of the net revenue for the purchases made in your game. And essentially what that means is somebody goes into the app and they buy some HypeX. Depending on whether they're on iOS device or Android device, immediately Google or Apple is going to take a chunk of whatever the player paid to get that HypeX. But all the rest of that goes to you. We're not going to take any of it right now. And I can guarantee in the future, we're eventually going to start taking a little bit of that too, because we do have operating costs that right now are being covered by our development costs. So we don't need to take any of that. But in the future, most likely we will be taking some of that. So that 100% net revenue is a really good deal for you guys, and one that is probably not going to always be there.
No, absolutely. And I think for some context, I think Roblox takes like 71%. It's something like that. It's an enormous figure.
It's usually a pretty big chunk. Yeah, I mean, it's not cheap to run a platform like this.
Right.
But right now, we don't make any money off of HypeHype, and we don't need to make money off of it right now. So any money that is made is being passed on to you guys.
Nice. That is massively epic, honestly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a really good reminder of being early access as we are now. That you're in at the right time, and now is there's no better time right now than to hone your skills and get these games as best as you can and take advantage of all this early offers that we're doing. So
exactly,
very cool.
And really quickly, I'll show it here. So I've opened up Rock Tycoon in the editor, and if we go over, it's still a little buggy at the moment. We can see here, this is the node. It's missing some text and it's missing an icon at the moment, but it's a pretty straightforward node. We can look at it here. Essentially, you set the price in HypeX of the thing that you want to sell, and then you just have a out here. So the player tries to spend some HypeX. It checks if they have enough. If they do, then you can output some singles to do whatever it is you want to do in your game for HypeX. That could be, selling skins, selling power ups, skipping timers, whatever it is. Anything you can think of that somebody might charge for in a mobile game, you would be able to do it here with that HypeX node. Obviously, some improvements here to the node itself.
Nice. Yeah, that's great. And we've got a load of stuff coming to help you do some of the best practices on monetization and all of that good stuff coming up. We'll be covering that as we move forward, as this gets a little bit more mature and it's all settled in a bit properly. So yeah, don't forget to hit the like button on this video if you want to see some of that stuff, or the best practices and how to best optimize your game for mobile. For HypeHype, sorry, a bit of a slip there, but yeah. So we've got a load of stuff coming your way, and this is very much the beginning here. So it'd be worth rewatching this as well if you're unsure of anything that we've covered so far. Don't forget they sit on the YouTube channel here, and just go rewatch it and give yourself a refresher so you don't really understand how the system works here.
Yeah, most definitely.
Right.
And if you're looking for kind of like more, we're not going to get into some of the nitty gritty details, I think, on the stream today. But if you want to get those, you can get those on the website, hypehype.com. And then, like, right at the top, there's information about the new monetization systems. You can find the page, creator monetization, and there's a FAQ there that's going to have any information that we don't talk about on the stream today. You should be able to find there about the monetization. And about kind of exactly how the breakdown works of the engagement to money transaction. And I think one other thing before we move along here, I see on the notes here, we've already talked about the 200 requirement before you can cash out. And we've also already talked about how this is early access. I will reiterate that again. This is early access. This is the first version of this. Most likely, all of these details could change at some point in the future, and they probably will. So just keep that in mind as well. And then there was one last thing that I wanted to say about this, which was I lost it. We're going to move on.
All right. And yeah, I'll just quickly add that, any questions that you think's unclear, be sure to hit the Discord. That's what it's there for. Ask us any questions, and we'll get you some answers as soon as we can over there. But yeah, let's move it on.
All right. So in addition now to the ability to just make money from your games through engagement on the platform, we also have the 100K competition. So, and this one's also really straightforward. Every game published between now and June 16th is automatically eligible in the 100K competition. And the goal here in the competition is to reach 15% 3-day retention. It might not sound big, but that's going to be a challenge. Like it's not going to be an easy thing to do. But if you can do it, then your game could be eligible for $100,000, and that's a nice chunk of change.
Yeah, that's an epic prize indeed. So
Indeed.
yeah, if you wanted even more motivation to come and start building some games, now is one of the best times ever to do just that. And as Shogun said, day 3 retention of 15%. So how many people after day 3, say there's 15% of your players that install the game on the first day come back to play again on day 3, you need 1,000 players there, which it's tough. It sounds low and easy, but this is where your game making skills are really put to the test, and how we can use the data and the stats to guide us on some of the decisions that we make. Again, we're going to cover more of this, but yeah, the competition is epic. So this is go time for making those games now.
I did see it kind of got pushed off the top of my chat here, but somebody had a question about when games published before now. I don't know what the exact cutoff date is, but I think if you go over to the website hypehype.com and check out the 100K page, 100K competition page, you will be able to get the exact cutoff date there. Question from PT Jones regarding the HypeX node. Is it available once your hype reaches engagement level 10, or would it be available for all right from the start? So yes, engagement level 10 is required. I think it might be that technically the node is there. Like you might be able to see it. I'm not sure exactly how the node itself unlocks, but certainly it will not do anything until your hype has reached that engagement level 10. I know, like, for example, if I open this Rock Tycoon and I remix it, my remix is not engagement level 16 like the original is. My engagement level is 0, but I do still have the node here. Like we came in here once already. We looked at it. So if I was to just not change anything and publish this, the node's not going to do anything because I don't have that engagement level.
Yeah, that's a really strong point as well. So this is where if you go into remix, you need to add value and make changes, and you can't just remix and retain the level of success of Rock Tycoon. This is where you need to put a twist on it for yourself and change stuff about to make using that base game to make a very different feeling and looking game to attract new players into that one itself. All right.
Indeed. I see a request in here to play some games. We will be playing games next week. I don't think we're going to do a whole lot of playing today. Certainly, we kind of have planned out our content for what we're going to be talking about today. But next week is the game playing stream. So if there is something that you would like us to play on that stream, you can leave it on the Share Your Game channel on the Discord. You could also add the hashtag PlayMyGameLive into the description of your game. And from those two pools, we will be selecting some games to play on the stream next week.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking forward to that. So if you want us to give feedback live on the stream next week for your game, the game you've built, make sure you do what Shogun's just said. Make sure it's in that Discord channel. Hashtag it with Play My Game Live. That'll help us find it easier. And yeah, we'll give you some real life feedback to try and help you, make better attempts at what you're building. And yeah, I can't wait to see that. I love playing I love watching Shogun play the games, to be fair. But yeah, so if you want your games played live next week, add them in that Discord channel and we'll be playing them live. All right.
All right. And now one last thing. Because I'm not sure if I said it or not. June 16th is the cutoff for the 100K competition. So make sure you get your game published, and you'll want to have it playable for a while, I think, before that June 16th cutoff, if you want to hit that 15% 3-day retention. So now we're going to move on to actually some tools that we are providing to you guys to help you improve your games, to be able to look at your games, what might be working well, what might not be working, and improve it from that. We have a few different tools available for you to do that. And those are going to come in the form of stats. So before we've already kind of looked at the individual game page stats. Before we go back into that, I'd like to look at the kind of like creator level stats. So if you go to the create page, we have this new kind of like little banner here. Now it's got my profile picture. It has my earnings. And then it has this more button. If we hit that more, then we have kind of like an overview here. I can see what my top performing games are. We can sort this. By default, it's last 7 days. If I want to see kind of like all time, I can see my all-time best performing games, last 30 days, etc. So if you have a bunch of games, maybe you want to see what you have, what's doing well, and maybe work on one of those games to hopefully make it do better. This is going to be a good place to go and find which games you have that are proving themselves to have some appeal to players.
Shogun, just before we dive more into this,
All right.
apparently it is a national holiday next Thursday in Finland. Which I was not aware of, but it's obviously I'm in the UK, so it won't be next week that we'll be streaming your games. It gives you an extra week to get your games ready and post them in the Discord. But it will be not next Thursday, but the following Thursday, which I'm guessing is the 16th of May. We'll be doing a Play Your Games live stream. So no live stream next week. It's the week after.
Uh-huh.
And
good news.
Big thanks to our to Yop, the community manager here, for letting me know that. So yeah, apologies for that. So May 16 is Play Your Games live.
There you go. I was not aware of that. That's good news. Day off next week. Huzzah.
Yeah, that's pretty hype.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we got a question here from PT Jones. Assume that fixing or improving the game entry would be fine after the jam submission date. Yeah, I mean, this is a little bit different than a jam, as there's no real kind of submission. Everything on the platform is eligible, or at least every new game on the platform is eligible. Games made within after the start date. But yeah, I think there's no like kind of the June 16th is the cutoff. That's when we're going to look at the stats. That's when we're going to see which games, if any, have managed to hit that mark. So yeah, I would say put your game out, put it out. I think at least kind of the idea that we have right now about kind of the way HypeHype works is that it's kind of doesn't hurt you to put it out quickly and improve as you go. And in fact, then you're going to get a whole lot more data through these stat pages that we're about to look at to help you make it even better. So I would say don't kind of like hold off on posting like it's got to be perfect. It's got to be perfect. Like once you have it's playable. It's everything, at least at some level that you want in the game is kind of there. Like, go ahead and put it out. Let people start playing it, and then you'll be able to see how it does, see where it's performing well, see where it's coming up short, and you'll be able to improve it even better than if you were just kind of doing that on your own.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great way to get some live feedback. You can also post some questions about it and see if anyone will give you feedback, what they like, what they don't like, and maybe give you some ideas as well, which is always really powerful, see what the players are asking for. That's a really good way to add features in and stuff like that. But yeah, we often get really close to too close when we're building our games to miss some silly things or just miss stuff that is obvious to us that it's not clear enough for your players. So it's always good to, once it's at that playable level, as John said, make sure it has some degree of quality to it. Don't have it out all buggy and broken, but once it's there, put it out there, start getting the stats in, see what's the initial feedback is, and try and build up a little bit of a following and a little bit of community around it. That's always a really powerful way to drive engagement as well. Wayward Traveler, you said, can you answer your question? I've had a look, I can't see the question, so if you can paste that again in the chat for us, that'd be much appreciated. But yeah, there we go. And yeah, all right, we'll wait for that to come back in. You can update. There we go. Back to you, Shogun, I think.
All right, cool. I was yeah. Let's continue. So we're gonna look at some game stats here now. We've looked at kind of like the creator stats. That's where you can see your best games. Now, if you go to any game, it doesn't even have to be yours. I'm going to go back to Rock Tycoon again. We have the stats here, and the stats are going to be really clutch for helping you improve your game. Um, so we've already kind of looked at this earnings stuff. So we'll skip over that. Below that, we have survey answers. So HypeHype will randomly kind of give a player a one question survey sometimes after finishing a game. Um, and then you get, as a creator, you get the answers to all of the questions that are given after your game. We can see here on Rock Tycoon, it's asked 3 different questions. Um, an important one, we'll talk about this a little bit more later. Was it clear how to play this game? 78% of players said yes. That's great for Rock Tycoon. Kind of tells you one of the reasons it's maybe doing pretty well is people right away, they understand what they're doing. Would you play this game again? 67% of people say yes. That's, again, really nice to have 2/3, a little bit more than 2/3 of the players are like, yes, I would play this again. That's awesome. Well on
Yeah.
its way to getting a 15% day 3. I don't know if it actually has it already or not. I would guess maybe no. And then the last one we have here, is the game frustrating or fun? We got 80% say fun over frustrating. Again, really good news for Rock Tycoon. Maybe not necessarily in this case a lot to pull from that besides good job. um, but a lot of the times these answers might not be so much in your favor, and then you kind of have a problem. For example, that first one, if more people are saying they don't know how to play your game than are, like, that's a clear sign you need to improve your onboarding, letting people know how the game works, or maybe simplifying the game. Maybe it's just too complex and people don't get it. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean this stuff is super valuable stuff. So don't discard it as like a little nice to have here. It's really important. If people are saying they don't understand how they play, it's definitely cause for action on your part as the game builder or game creator to make sure that you take this stuff on board and just like, okay, let's look at this then. If people don't understand it, just as I've interjected there, Wayward has basically repeated his question. So I'm going to read it out. I'm not sure I understand it, but I'm going to read it out anyway. Can we add a donations access rather than buy this part or this level or this part, but it's able to be appreciated by fans of your game? So I think what you're saying is, can you add a donation button, basically?
right.
And in theory, yes, you could ask for um I'm guessing this is right. Please correct me if I'm wrong here, but this could work like any other um in-app purchase within your game, and you could have like buy me a coffee or something, and you could have that, and maybe you have to reward them with a little skin or something, but in theory you could add a donate button in your game, I believe.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, once you get that HypeX node, it's kind of on you how you want to use it. I would say in that case, you definitely would want to be clear to the players that when they push that button, they're going to be giving you HypeX and they're not getting anything in return.
Yeah.
Or like, give something small, give something basic, something simple. Um, but yeah, the HypeX node is there. You can more or less use it to create whatever kind of transaction you want to create into your game. Um,
Exactly, and like Shogun said, and I kind of touched on it. I would definitely give them something, even though it's worked as a donation or a sponsor or a support the creator type in-app purchase. I would depending on your game, I would give them like a gold crown or something, just something to make them so they get rewarded for it, even though it might not have any impact on the game itself.
right.
Actually, I think that's kind of a nice idea. Fun fact: one of our first games that we releases, we did exactly this, and we had it was a buy as a coffee. I can't quite remember; it was a long time ago, but we had 3 tiers. So we had a 1.99, a 2.99, and a 4.99. where people could send us a tip. Basically, they wouldn't actually get anything, but we changed their character to a gold, so their main character was golden from that moment onward as a supporter of the game. So yeah,
Right.
it's a good idea.
Right. We have another question here about that. Could you let players decide the price? I think that should be possible. I haven't had a ton of hands-on time with the node yet, so I don't know the ins and outs of everything that it can do.
I
But I believe
I
that should be possible.
I would be wary if that is possible because from the technical side of things, they'd have to be I don't know. I shouldn't have started that. I wouldn't. I would think that would be quite challenging. But I would go back to what I've just said. Give them a couple of options, 2 or 3 options.
Yeah, I mean that's the route I would take as well. Instead of making it just like an open amount, just give a few different amounts.
Yeah, because I think there will be a minimum amount that they'd have to fulfill,
sure.
which is probably 99 cents or something.
Sure.
So, but yeah, it's a good way of thinking. Watch this space, and I'm sure we'll have an answer for you shortly on that.
Another question here about model textures. When are they being released? I do not have a date for that, but we're getting closer. We are definitely getting closer. I think much closer than we have been previously. So keep an eye out for that. It's something I'm certainly looking forward to. So when it is available, we will definitely be talking about it here on stream. And that's all I can really say about that at the moment. So let's jump back into these stats a little bit more. So underneath our survey answers, I'm getting a little echo from you, Kevin. There we go. We're going to have a whole bunch of more stats we can check out here, but first we can decide what version we want to look at. So by default, it's going to look at all versions. If we want, we could look at the version from the last 30 days, version from the last 7 days, or we can actually go down here and we can see the version history, all the updates to this game, and we can choose which one we want to look at. For now, I'm going to look at all versions so that we can see anything. Wayward Traveler asking, how close are we on pathfinding features? The pathfinding, I think, is also very close. So keep an eye out for that as well. In fact, I think the pathfinding is for us, for like admins, I think it's already in there. Maybe. I'm not sure, though. I haven't used it yet.
Scott is asking, can we create our own 3D models and make money from other game makers? Well, as far as I'm aware, not right now, but I would not rule that out for the future.
Definitely.
It makes a lot of sense that we would open up what would be an asset store of some description. So yeah,
right.
I would imagine that's very much on the cards in the future, but not right now.
Exactly. Okay, so now the meat of the stats page. Once we get below the surveys, once we pick what version we want to look at, also, I guess it's worth noting we can compare versions as well. So if we compare all versions to the latest version, and now we have stats from both. I'm going to close that, though, just so that it doesn't make it complicated to look at. So the first thing, by default, we're looking at playtime here. We have these 4 circles here kind of represent the 4 different stat categories that we have. And it also gives you a score here. You can see Rock Tycoon is doing most excellent on playtime, doing very good on retention, doing pretty good on appeal, doing pretty bad on performance, but still doing really well on all the other things. So it's still good news for Rock Tycoon.
Just why we've mentioned that one, what's performance actually recording there, Shogun?
So performance right now is pretty much FPS. It's your frame per second across all the devices that have played your game. You can see here Rock Tycoon is getting an average 28 FPS, which is about half of the target. The target is 60. So quite low. But of course, there's lots of different devices HypeHype can be played on. So what we're actually probably looking at there is a lot of devices that can probably play the game fairly well. I know when I play it on my iPad that I'm using here for the stream, I don't really get any performance issues. Um, but somebody with like a less powerful device, maybe you got like some a cheaper Android phone or an older phone that you're playing on, you might be getting pretty bad frames per second there. I would imagine to get 28 average, some people are getting much less than that. So certainly something that Alu wants to look at, something that I know Alu has been looking at, trying to improve the performance on this game. And we're gonna get into that. Actually, the next thing after we're done looking at the stats, we're going to talk about some of the ways that you can improve your performance. So that'll be coming up in just a moment. Let's jump back over to the playtime here for a moment. Underneath playtime, we can see the total playtime, which is great, super high here for Rock Tycoon. We can see the playtime kind of averages per user. So what this says is 89% of players play Rock Tycoon for at least 10 seconds. Pretty good for games on this platform. I mean, you have to keep in mind that on this platform, it's really easy to switch a game. So if you load up a game and if you're not feeling it pretty quickly, it's really easy to go find another one. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment too. But that like getting people's attention and keeping it right away is going to be one of the key ways to keep people playing your game. But anyway, we also have here now 30-second retention, 1 minute retention, 2, 3, 5 minutes. So we can see kind of like how long people are sticking in the game. All of these numbers for Rock Tycoon are pretty solid. We have overall playtime. So on average, players play this game for 10 minutes and 10 and a half minutes. Pretty good metric for games on this platform. One attempt takes a little over 6 minutes. Again, really good. We can kind of see a graph here of that drop off. And then we have a score thing here. And then we have super great feature. You can watch clips of people playing your game. And personally, I don't think there is any better way to find flaws in your game than watching somebody who doesn't know anything about your game play the game. So these things, going through and watching these playtest clips could be so clutch in finding issues with your game, finding the problems where people are having issues, finding parts of the points in your game where people are dropping off, all that stuff. I highly recommend watching these clips when you are working on improving a game. They're going to give you so much useful information.
Yeah, this is so powerful. And again, one of the sections here that you should definitely not overlook as a game creator. Watching people play your games when you're not directing them and just watching them, how they, where do they go? What are they doing? Are they running the opposite way than what you designed the game for? Are they not picking up the thing and why they're getting frustrated and leaving? Are they basically doing everything that you'd expect a new player to do? And if not, then it's your opportunity there. Then you can go and make some changes to have a positive impact on all your numbers and all your stats. This is really, really powerful. And I highly, much like Shogun, highly encourage you to go and have a look and watch some of your players play your game. It's really eye-opening a lot of the time, and you can learn a bunch from this. It's basically free playtesting recording, which is quite frankly costs a bundle of money if you were to get it done professionally. So this is a great feature of HypeHype. You can go in and get they're just basically recording your playtesters, which is again so powerful. So go and check this out inside the stats tab, and you'll probably be really surprised of what your players are doing. So yeah, it's such a big one there. Really, really cool. We've got a couple of questions here.
All right.
Is there any of the Epic of Games designer of HypeHype mechanic willingness to be paid monthly as a game collaborator collaborative troubleshooting, or even a mentoring group willingness to pay amount per month. Wayward, if I'm reading that correctly, I think you're asking for some specific help, and we've just opened up a Slack channel for creators that you'll find some details about. I can't remember off the top of my head where the invites are shared right now, but feel free to message me and we'll hook you up if you want some specific help with that. And yeah, that was it. I think there's a couple other ones here, but I think we're good to move onwards. Just people saying that they're rocking old phones right now. Yeah, it's a tricky one, but it just goes to show that you know, you need to be thinking about your FPS on older devices as well. And this is leaning more into the pro side of things now. You know, when we're looking for performance and all these scores, how do we tweak these numbers? It's yeah, it's getting serious sort of stuff.
Most
Yeah.
definitely. And I would, I would, I'm getting lost again. I just want to like kind of restate and stress what Kevin just said is, do not assume that everybody is going to have the same experience as you when they play your game. A lot of people that are using HypeHype right now are using HypeHype on lower end devices, on older devices. So there's a good chance that a significant portion of your players are going, if your game is having some performance issues, they're going to be running into those. So it's definitely something you want to be conscious of, and you want to try and make your game run as well as possible on as many devices as possible. I think we'll probably touch on it again when we get to the optimization tips. But testing your game on other devices can be great. Another like really eye-opening thing, like find an old or like a weak device, play your game on that and see what the experience is like, because that's what a significant portion of players are going to be experiencing.
Yeah, that's a super solid bit of advice there. Dig out that old mobile that's shoved in your drawer from a few years back and load up and see how your games play on that. Now, obviously, there will be a cut-off, and some of the older devices, you know, they're going to struggle no matter what. But if you've got like a 4 or 5 year old mobile that you don't use anymore, it'd be really great to just use that as a test device. It's very common in the industry that you'll see professionals work with their lot, got 10 different phones all on their desk to check out how things are working on like iOS, Android, and the lower spec models. So it's a really good tip there from Shogun. If you've got an old device, go and dig it out and just see how it's performing, and then you know if you've got a significant problem, if it's working on your brand new shiny, what are we on now, iPhone 14, 13, or whatever it is now. You know, go a few models back and see how it's running. That could you could pick up some big sort of snags there. So that's a really great bit of advice.
Indeed.
All right.
All right, let's keep going here. So then the next tab we have is retention. This is the multiple day retention. So this is about how many players play your game, leave it, and then come back a day, 2 days, 3 days later to play some more. Um, and so we can see here, on Rack Tycoon we got 21% players come back to the game, which is pretty nice. We can see here if we're thinking about that 100K competition, Rock Tycoon has 2% on that day 3. So well short of that target. So that might give you a little bit of an idea of how challenging it might be to get there. But yeah, so this is another like really important one. When you want to make a successful game, you want people to come back. You want people to keep playing it. So having multiple day retention is a big strength, and you want to get those numbers as high as you can. But keep in mind that multiple day retention for anything is usually going to be pretty low. So you don't need huge numbers here, but you want to get those numbers as high as you can get them.
Yeah, it's notoriously hard retention in the mobile gaming world. So Don't be discouraged if your numbers are lower than what you'd think. Um, but this is where we can really dial in on our ideas and the mechanisms that we put in our game to try and up the retention. Why would someone come back the next day or the day after or the day after that to play your game? What is it that you're building, and why? What games do you play, and which ones do you go back day after day? You know, when we're looking at these sort of numbers, we're really trying to create a habit from our players. Why should they come back every day? What was fun about it? Does it keep it interesting for them? All these sort of things, as we go deeper and deeper into retention, is really, really quite complicated, for want of a better phrase. So there's many different things that we can do, or try. But yeah, it all starts with the core of your game. But yeah, don't be disheartened that you see some of those numbers relatively low. I mean, as Shogun says, Rock Tycoon here, you know, it's struggling itself a little bit. So yeah, that gives you the idea of how challenging this will be, but it's definitely not impossible, and it's definitely doable. So I'm super excited to see what you guys are going to create with this, and how these numbers are going to be looking.
Indeed.
All right.
All right. Now I'm noticing we're getting a little short on time, and we actually have quite a few notes left here. So I'm going to try and speed it up a little bit.
I'm going to shut up and you carry
on. So the next one here is appeal, and this is basically about how many people that see your game start playing it. So either they're swiping through a feed, right, and they see your game and they start playing it. That would be a feed conversion here, which we can see feed conversion. This has 33% feed conversion. And then there's the ones where it shows up in the top charts. Somebody's looking at your profile and they see the thumbnail and they click on the thumbnail. That's thumbnail conversion. And then we can see all those numbers there as well. We get a nice little graph here, which is actually showing impressions. So this is a really nice one. This shows how many people your game is shown to on the platform, versus how many people play it. And obviously you want this number to be as high as possible. You want when people to see your game that they're interested, that they click on it, that they come in and they want to get a little bit more. And I wish I had a little bit more information about thumbnail, how many people actually see the thumbnails. Because, of course, thumbnail is something that you can customize. You can spend some time on that to try and make your thumbnail appealing. But I do believe that most people on HypeHype, unless your game is in the top charts, they're going to find your game through a feed or through search, in which case they would see a thumbnail. So, both important.
And yeah, then, I think at some point, sorry, Shogun, I was just going to say, I think at some point, we will do a stream about thumbnails and click-through rates and conversions and stuff. I think that's a really important one, and we could spend some time on that. But there you go. I just wanted to say that.
Right. All right, and then we already looked at performance. Just to reiterate, performance is looking at the FPS of your game. Which essentially tells us how well your game is running across all devices. And now, the next part of this, which I think we're maybe going to skip through a little bit. We're not going to spend a whole bunch of time on this. But if we hit this improve button at the bottom, this is going to take us to an article on the learn.hypehype.com. Or I guess it's learn.wiki.hypehype.com. Anyway, it'll soon be the other one that I said. We're in the process of making that. Anyway, there's it's pretty long article here with a bunch of information about things that could be causing your game to not perform well, and things that you can try to do to improve that performance. There's a bunch of rules of thumb here. Like we already mentioned earlier, if you can test on different devices, that's really good. You want to take your time when you're dealing with performance issues. You want to investigate properly. You want to find the root of the problem and then find a good solution. And it's really something that could be vastly different from game to game. Um, so while there is no kind of like one trick fix that's gonna just like make your game run better, there are a bunch of tips on this page that you can look through that might help you at least have a little starting point to find and improve the performance on your games. All right, and that is the end of the stuff we had to look at in app. We now have a little bit less than 10 minutes left, and the topic on hand is uh, how do I make a hit game? How how do I make a game that people are going to want to play? And I have a few notes here that I'm going to quickly run through, and then probably we'll have a little bit of back and forth with Kevin and myself, and that'll be the end of the stream today. Um, so the notes that I have right here, fun, simple gameplay. I think simple on our platform is really the key. We talked about it a bunch of times already, but when the player comes into your game, you need to let them know what is going on as quickly as possible. Um, like I was just saying a few minutes ago, it's so easy for people to just swipe away from your game, go play something else. If they don't know what they're supposed to do, if they find it confusing or frustrating or any of those things, it's so easy for them to just leave. That you really want to be conscious of. Is my game understandable? When players come in, do they know what they need to do? Basically, right away. Um, the next point I have here is, again, something that Kevin and I have been talking about a bunch as we've looked through those stats. Is you want to keep players engaged with your game. You want to give them a hook early. Get them something right away to make your game interesting, to make your game stand out. That could be all kinds of different things. It could be fun looking gameplay. It could be like a really cool art style. It could be, who knows? It could be all kinds of different things, but you want to have something there to make your game stand out and make people want to start playing it in the first place. And then the next point I have here under that is you want to reward early. So once players start playing, like give them a taste of what it's going to be like to play your game. Give them a taste of what success in your game feels like. And hopefully that success is appealing enough that they want to continue. They want to do that again and again and again. Right? That's why we play games. And then the last point I have under the keep players engaged here is like avoid lengthy tutorials. So we already talked in the first point how simple gameplay, understandable gameplay is important, and sometimes that means your game's going to need some tutorials. But you want to keep those to be as quick as possible and to be as little text as possible. Most people are not going to read your paragraph of text when you have a tutorial with a big load of text. Most people aren't going to read that, and that just means they're not going to understand what's going on in your game. So the tutorials super important, but you want to keep them quick. You want to keep them short. And so those two things combined, your tutorials and your simple gameplay, they should work together to make sure that the player can be dropped into your game and start playing as quickly as possible. And then I have two more points here. The next one is just study similar games. You're making a game. Most likely that game is inspired by some other games that you've played. Something along those lines. You're trying to make a certain type of gameplay that, let's face it, most types of gameplay have been done. So no matter what you're doing, you can probably find examples of people that have done it before you. You can check those out. You can see, in your opinion, what did they do well? What did they do wrong? If you want to go deeper into that, you could maybe do some searching for studies that have been done on this type of game that you've done. You can find stuff like that on YouTube, on Reddit, where people have really delved deep into a certain topic. Kevin has done this in the past. We talked about it last week with the arcade idle games. If you go do a little bit of searching on the internet, you can find Kevin talking at length about arcade idle games, and I'm sure other styles of games as well. So study similar games to what you are trying to make. It will help you make your game better. And then my last point here, before I open it up to Kevin to say whatever he wants to say, is that there's no formula. There's no like these are the steps you will take, and if you do this, you will have a hit game. Like that's kind of the thing. Like you never really know what's going to pop off. You can follow all these guidelines that we're giving you, follow the guidelines that other people give you, do all this studying, and your chances are going to be better. Like you're starting on you're putting your good foot forward, but you never really know what's going to pop off. So I think personally, especially when you're on a platform like this and you're having fun, you're trying to make games, make something that you would want to play. Like if you don't want to play your game, like it's going to be more difficult to get other people to want to play your game. So you can obviously you can try and chase trends. You can try and jump on whatever the most popular stuff is and see if you can get into that. But I personally think you're going to have a much better chance to make something really special, something that really could pop off, if you think about why would I want to play this game, and you make something that you yourself would come back and play over and over and over again. And that's my tips.
Well, that you just made me redundant because that was solid. That was it. I've got so much to expand on what Shogun said, but we obviously are in full agreement with everything. He's just laid it down on a plate. That's basically it. There's a question in the chat or statement from PT Jones that says that making games that appeal to all levels rather than being really punitive, which you will obviously only sort of appeal to a certain niche. And I think I'd go a little bit further and a little bit sideways from that, and make your games relatable to make sure that they make sense to most people when you're building your game. So if you have something really random, it's very hard for people to, if they see the stream video or if they see the thumbnail, it's going to be very difficult for them to really figure out what it is and if they want to play it or not. So I think that's a really good point from the chat there. The other thing is, and Shogun mentioned it right at the beginning of that, is to obviously make your game really easy to understand in the beginning. Make the rules really clear, make the goals really clear. And I think overall, you really want to, taking it from the mobile advertising section of the industry, you want to look in the first 3 to 5 seconds are crucial to your game. When you welcome the player into your game, what is it that they're seeing? What is it that they have to do? And is it really obvious to them? I'm sure you've had this in the past where you've opened up a game and you move the player around and like you don't know what to do. I don't really get it. It feels a bit funny and I'm gone. And unfortunately, we have very, very short amount of time to get the players involved and hook them into our world of our game. So yeah, make it really clear and obvious. And I love what Shogun said about rewarding the player early. I am a massive fan of that. I'm the biggest flag flyer going. Get them and reward your players early on. Make them feel like they're winning without doing anything. Make it really generous with your rewards. Give them a bunch of coins. Give them a big old sword. Give them something really epic so they just want to keep playing. And then you can slowly pace it down a little bit. But yeah, be really generous with your rewards. Now you could even offer them a free skin from the skin shop, and stuff like that. Make it really alluring to them and make it feel fun. Everyone likes free stuff, right? Who doesn't like free stuff? Everyone does. So give some stuff away free and be really generous. We're right on time and I could go on for this for literally days. So I think we'll have to stop it there. Any final thoughts or any last second? The time has just gone. I think what you should do, if you've got any questions about today's stream, congrats if you're still here. Leave a comment underneath. That's a really good way to get our attention, or indeed come and join us in the Discord. All I will say is we are not here next week, but the following week we'll be here to play your game. So do get your games in the Discord. And thank you, Shogun, today for all of that information. There was a lot of stuff covered there. I'll be watching this back to make sure I'm understanding this properly. But yeah, any comments, any questions, leave them in the comments below. But that'll do it for me.
Awesome. And thank you for coming and hanging out with me today while we did this.
Always.
I think just one thing I would tack on to what you were talking about. If you do want to make a game that maybe is a little more of a niche game, there's certainly room for you to do that and to have success doing that. I think the big challenge is going to be, particularly on our platform, is finding that niche audience. Like you probably have to be a little more proactive about getting your game out, getting it in front of the people that would be interested in it, as opposed to something that has a little more broad appeal.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a good point. And like I said, this is really nuanced. So, but having leaving that one sentence there was probably a bit of a misnomer from my point of view. But yeah, everything's doable. And one thing that I just will go, and I know we've gone over, but
it's fine.
You said it earlier that this is one of the reasons why we put our games out early to test, right? To find out if people are liking it, and is what we've made really good, and get that testing out early. Test early, get some feedback.
Most definitely. Right. And actually, one more thing. I'm going to tack on one more thing because it wasn't in the notes here. But when it comes to those stats, using those stats to improve your games, sometimes depending on the game that you're making, there might be specific things about your game that you want to know. And we are working on a node that will allow you to pull that data for yourself. So you could have included in your stats page, you could have some information about, like how many coins does the average player collect? Like stuff like, like whatever kind of extra stats you want to get from within your game. We're working on a tool that will let you do that. So the stats is going to get even more powerful as we move forward.
Wow, that is super cool.
All right. And that is going to do it for today. So thank you everybody for coming and hanging out, listening to us mostly just like jabber here for an hour. I know like we weren't looking at a whole lot of super exciting stuff. It was a lot of talk, but there was also a lot of talk, a lot of activity in the chat. So thank you so much to everybody, particularly those of you. I still see a few here that have been here for the duration of the whole stream. So that is awesome. Really appreciate it. Like Kevin said, we will not be here next week, but in 2 weeks, it is going to be a play stream. So if you want us to play your games, you can leave them on the Discord, show your game channel, and put play my game live hashtag in the description of your game in the app. And we'll be choosing some games to play from those. Until next time, I've been Shogun. This has been the HypeHype Live. I hope the rest of your Thursday is awesome. Your Friday is incredible. And you have the most excellent Star Wars day on Saturday. May the 4th be with you. Peace out, Hypesters.